Srajamham. These two words, which are the title of this talk, Tadatmanam Srajamham, are the last two words of the famous oft-used sutra of Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir-bhavati Bharat. Whenever there is a decline in righteousness, Abhyutthanam Dharmasya Tadatmanam Srajamham. Srajamham means to resurrect, to recreate. The dharma I rise again. Existence is synergistic harmony. The balance is the very essence of the existence. Whenever there is imbalance, the divine forces set in the motion once again to restore the balance. This is natural and spontaneous and happens effortless. When the darkness is at its peak, dawn comes in. When there is excess heat, rainy season comes in. Day and night, the seasons, autumn and spring, are all bound by this synergistic harmony or by this cosmic law. Nanak calls this as Hukum, the cosmic law. He is the only truth. He is truth in the beginning. He is truth in the end. He is truth now. He will be truth forever. His truth is beyond time and space. For this, you have to move from the realm of the mind to another realm. Of this you know not. Neither by thinking can you attain. Also by your constant thinking you have missed the essence of it. Inner chattering continues unabated, and there seems to be no way to cease this chattering. How and when will the veil of ignorance or illusion vanish? This veil is ego and beclouds the manifestation of truth. Then a voice echoes deep within, when truth will manifest. But the voice is lost in the clatter of the mind. The methodology comes to fall once again within this existential law. No one is doing anything, yet still it is existing rhythmically. Hindus have experienced this synergistic harmony as the cosmic sound of Om. What is the definition of truth and non-truth? What does a master understand by truth? How to make you understand this may be a problem with you. It is bound to be. However, such is not the case with the awakened ones. Having drunk the life's elixir, words simply flow effortlessly out of the awakened ones. The Bhagavad Gita is such a spontaneous overflow of the awakened one. It seems as if the words are coming not from the mind. Although mind mechanism is working to continue the message, but the words are coming from the deepest core, the infinite, unfathomable realm of harmony and oneness. Krishna sings this inner harmony as the Bhagavad Gita. He is the only truth. He is true in the end and now. His truth is beyond time and space. His truth is beyond time and space. Such is the only definition of truth. That which is now but not later is transient. That cannot be God, that is eternal. That is the definition of truth and untruth. Untruth is that which is ephemeral, short-lived, something that goes on changing. Untruth is that ceases to exist between two shores. Look at the dream. Before you went to sleep, it was not. And when you wake up again, it is not there. A dream exists only between these two shores of waking and dreaming state of awareness. And these states are not permanent, not in your control either, until you are totally awake. And when you are awake totally, then you will remain awake even in your sleep and dreaming state as well. Then dreams are no more, and thus disappears the veil. All that beclouds the manifestation of truth, the veil of ignorance and illusion as well. The dreams are when you are dreaming. In the morning it disappears. On waking, you know the dreams cannot be true. It was not there in the evening, and again in the morning it is no more. Such is the state of the dreams. One day your body was no more, and one day again it will be no more. Your body is false. Truth is that which exists beyond time and space. This is the definition of truth and the definition of all the awakened ones for truth. One moment there is anger, and next moment it is no more. Anger is dreamlike. All awakened ones say, when you allow this understanding to sink in you, you will be transformed. You do not be too much concerned with mind and its mechanism of veiling truth. Awakened ones say that which never dies and is never born, that which is beyond change, such is the search inherent in Bhagavad Gita. Also the entire message revolves around this. What is that which never changes? Seek that alone, says the inner ecstasy. Certainly that lies within you, veiled by your vision and cognition. And all changes happen around that eternal truth. Try to understand this. A wheel moves. How does this happen? The wheel moves on an axle. The axle remains fixed, unmoved. You remove the axle, the wheel falls immediately. Without the axle, the wheel can no more revolve. The change in the movement of the wheel happens around the fixed axle. So too the axle of soul remains ever fixed, and the body revolves around the axle of the soul. This is the essence of truth beyond time and space. That alone is truth. How can that alone be true? Because nothing exists except that eternal and immutable. All the rest is dreamlike. This veils the manifestation of truth. Now the methodology falls. How can you experience that? When anger plagues your consciousness, hate inflicts you, allow the words of the awakened one echo in you like the dissolving notes of an enchanting melody or an intoxicating awareness. Remember, truth is beyond time and space. That which always is, know that alone as truth, the eternal. What can you do then when anger comes in? Anger was not there a moment before. Then it suddenly comes and grips you, and again it will not be. Be a witness in that moment. Be a witness in that moment. You will realize slowly and slowly that it is all that is futile will certainly begin to vanish. The essential will begin to evolve. The world will begin to disappear. Krishna says, you cannot attain to this awareness or witnessing by thinking. And through thinking alone you have lost your serenity. God is not an conclusion of any hypothesis. and he is not the conclusion of logic. God is eternal truth. The way is not through thinking. What will you gain through thinking? By thinking alone you have lost. Through thinking you are lost in the forest of words and duality. You have to attain eyes to see the essential. When your eyes are full of thoughts, you will remain blind. Your eyes need to be thoughtless. Zen calls this state as no mind. Kabir calls this as Unmuni state. Again, it means the same thing, the word is different. A state when there is no thought. A state of awareness. Patanjali calls it as Nirvichar Samadhi, a state of Samadhi which has no thoughts. All these are different ways to explain the same external. All these are different ways to explain the same state of awareness. This refers to a state when all thoughts, opportunities and alternatives are no more. Neither by thinking nor by a forced silence can you attain this. By thinking, inner silence is not attained. Thinking is effort. You cannot fall into sleep through effort. All efforts have to drop, and then suddenly you realize that you have fallen asleep. Your efforts alone will become an obstruction in attaining your inner silence. You can become statue-like outwardly, but inner dialogue and disturbance will continue. You will be like the one sitting on a volcano ready to explode any moment. It happened once Nanak was the guest at the house of a Muslim chief called Nabab. Nanak is beyond religion. One who has known he is not bound by the finiteness of caste, creed and religion. Knowing this, the chief invited Nanak for Friday prayer. Nanak agreed for the prayer only on one condition. He said, I will certainly offer prayers in the mosque if you are going to offer the prayer. The chief could not understand this condition. He is going to offer the prayers anyways. Entire village gathered, Hindus and Muslims simultaneously. Everyone wants to know what Nanak is doing. Hindus lamented as they thought Nanak is going to be a Muslim. Muslims rejoiced that a man like Nanak has now got senses. We see things as we are. The fear remains the guiding force of all our thinking and approach to life. This is how your so-called religious ones are. Each ignorant one thinks that he can maul the awakened one. He can manipulate the awakened one. Indeed, innocence is the ornament of the awakened one, and innocence cannot be manipulated. He is purest and the manifestation of that which is, and also that pervades the entire cosmos. Innocence is your very nature. You do not have to become it. You are already it. You are born innocent. Then layers and layers of conditionings are imposed upon your innocence. Your innocence is like a mirror, and conditioning is like the layers of the dust onto the surface of the mirror. The mirror has not to be achieved. It is already there, or it is here. The mirror is not lost. It is only hidden behind the layers of the dust. You do not have to follow a way to reach your nature, because you cannot leave your nature. The mirror cannot leave its quality of reflection. It is always there, but sometimes it gets hidden under the layers of dust. You cannot go anywhere else. Even if you wanted to, it is impossible. That is exactly the definition of the nature. The nature of the mirror is reflection. Anything that comes in front of it, the mirror reflects. This is the nature, it cannot go away. Even when mirror is not capable of reflecting because of the dusts, layers of dust, mirror does not have to go and search its nature of reflecting. It is always there. It is a part of the being of the mirror. Nature means that which cannot be left behind, that which cannot be renounced, but you can forget about. You cannot lose it, but it can be forgotten. And that is exactly what happened. The mirror is not lost but forgotten. Forgotten because it is not functioning anymore as the mirror because of the layers of the dust upon its reflecting surface. Not that any defect has arisen in it, just layers of dust are covering its nature. All that is needed is to clean the layers of the dust, to remove those layers, or to remove those layers of the dust, and the mirror will begin to reflect again. The process of becoming innocent is not really a process of becoming. Instead, it is a process of discovering your being. Just as it is the process of discovering the reflecting surface of the mirror. It is a discovery, not an achievement. You do not attain to something new. You simply attain to that which you have always been. It is a forgotten language. It happens many times. You see a person on the road, you recognize him and his face seems familiar. Suddenly you remember that you know his name. You say it is just on the tip of the tongue, but still it is not coming to you. What is happening? If it is just on the tip of the tongue, then why can't you say it? You know that you know it, but still you are not able to remember it. And the more you try, the more difficult it becomes, because making an effort makes you more tense. And when you are tense, you are farther away from your nature. You are farther away from that which is already there. When you are relaxed, you are closer. When you are utterly relaxed, it will surface on its own accord. So you try hard, but it does not come. So you forget all about it. Then lying down in your bath or just swimming in the pool, and you are not even trying to remember that man's name, when suddenly it bubbles up. What has happened? You were not trying to remember, and you are relaxed. When you are relaxed, you are wide. Your consciousness is the widest, almost cosmic. It happens only when you are relaxed. Contrary to it, when you are tense, you become narrow, and your consciousness becomes more and more tense and narrow. The passage between you and that which is inside you becomes so narrow that nothing can pass through it. Not even a single name. All the great scientific discoveries have been made in this very mysterious way, in this very unscientific way, so to say. It is said Madame Curie was working on a certain mathematical problem for 3 years continuously, and the more she tried, the farther and farther away the solution seemed. She tried every possible way, but nothing was working. Nothing was happening. And there was something, a deep, tacit feeling that solution exists. I am not struggling with something absent. This was the feeling within her. The tacit feeling continued all the time as an undercurrent. Hence she could not drop the effort either. She was getting tired. 3 years wasted for a single problem. But deep down within her, somebody was saying the solution is possible. This exercise is not futile. Go on. And she went on stubbornly. She persisted. She dropped all other projects and forced herself totally into the one problem. But the more she tried, the more impossible it became. One night it happened almost as it happened to Gautam the Buddha. Of course, the problem was different, but the process was same. Buddha had struggled for 6 years to attain enlightenment, and he had attained nothing. Then one night he dropped the whole effort, went to sleep, and by the morning, when the last star was setting, he became enlightened. That night, Madame Curie dropped the idea, the whole project, and she closed the chapter, "Enough is enough." 3 years wasted is too much for one problem. There were other problems which were waiting to be solved. It was finished in her mind. Although the tacit understanding was still there, just like a constant murmur, and she had followed it long enough. It was time. One has only a limited time. 3 years is too much for one problem. Deliberately she dropped the idea. As far as she was concerned, she closed the whole project. She went to sleep, never to be bothered by that problem again. And in the morning she got up. When she got up, she was surprised. On a piece of paper on her table, the solution was there, written in her own handwriting. She could not believe her eyes. Who had done it? The servant could not have done it. He knew nothing of mathematics. And if Curie has not been able to do it in 3 years, how could the servant have done it? And there was no one else in the house. And the servant had not entered in the night. The doors were locked from within. She looked closely, and the handwriting resembled her. Then suddenly she remembered a dream. In the dream she had seen that she had got up, gone to the table, written something. Slowly and slowly the dream became clear, and she remembered that she has done it in the night. It was not a dream. She had actually done it, and this was the solution. For 3 years she has been struggling hard and nothing was happening. And the night she dropped the project, she dropped all efforts, it happened. What happened? She became relaxed. Once you have dropped the efforts, you become relaxed. You become restful, soft, wide, open and flowing. This was there inside her. She surfaced. Finding the mind no longer tense, she surfaced. Such relaxedness is the essence of the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. The essence of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita is the state of total relaxedness. Arjun became relaxed, and in that moment of relaxedness, Arjun attained to that Krishna was trying to teach Arjun. Arjun did not attain through the mind, he attained in a state of no mind. Innocence is there. You have simply forgotten it. You have been made to forget it. Society is cunning. For centuries man has learned that you can survive in this society only if you are cunning. The more cunning you are, the more successful you will be. That is the whole game of politics. Be cunning. Be more cunning than others. It is constant struggle and competition as to who can be more cunning. Whosoever is more cunning is going to succeed, is going to be powerful. After centuries of cunningness, man has learned one thing, that to remain innocent is dangerous. You will not be able to survive. Hence parents try to drive their children out of their innocence. Teachers, schools, colleges, universities exist for the simple work of making you more and more cunning and clever. Although they call it intelligence, but in reality it is not intelligence. Intelligence is not against innocence. Remember it. Instead, intelligence is the flavor of innocence. Intelligence is the fragrance of intelligence. Cunningness is against innocence, and cunningness, cleverness are not synonymous with intelligence. But to be intelligent needs a tremendous journey inwards. Remember, to be intelligent needs a tremendous journey inward. No schools can help, no colleges, no universities either. Parents, priests, the society, they are all extrovert, therefore they cannot help you to go inwards. And Buddhas are very rare, few and far between. Not everyone is fortunate enough to find a Buddha. Arjun found and awakened in Yogeshwar Krishna, and the message of such an enlightened one is the beacon light for human beings along the inner path. Only a Buddha, the awakened one, can help you to be an intelligent person. But you cannot find so many Buddhas who want to become primary school teacher or high school teachers and university professor. It is impossible. So there is a substitute for intelligence, and cunningness is the substitute for intelligence. A very poor substitute, remember. And not only is it a poor substitute, instead it is just opposite of it too. The intelligent person is not cunning, certainly intelligent, but his intelligence keeps his innocence intact. He does not sell it for mundane things. The cunning person is ready to sell his soul for small things. What happened? Judas sold Jesus for 30 silver coins, just 30 silver coins. And Jesus cannot be sold. Judas must have thought that he was being very intelligent, but he was simply cunning. If you do not like the word cunning, you can call him clever, and it is just a good name for the same thing, for the same ugly thing. The society prepares you to be cunning so that you are capable of competing in this struggle for existence, the struggle to serve. It is a cutthroat competition everywhere, and everybody is after everybody else through. People are ready to do anything to succeed, to be famous, and to climb the ladder of success, name and fame. They are ready to use you as a stepping stone. Unless you are also cunning, you will be simply used and manipulated. Hence the society trains every child to be cunning, and these layers of cunningness are hiding your innocence, your reflecting surface. Innocence has not to be achieved, it is already there. Hence it is not a question of becoming, it is your very being. It has only to be discovered or rediscovered. You have to drop all that you have learned from others, and you will immediately be innocent. And Yogeshwar tells Arjun, Sarva dharman paritijya, mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma shucha. Sarva dharman means all religions, paritijya, abandon. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Mamekam means mine, sharan means shelter. Come to my shelter. Abandoning all the religions of body, mind and intellect, come to me and me alone. I shall liberate thee of thine. Who makes this promise really? You will sing at the top of the voice. Certainly it is the awakened one in Krishna. No, it is not so. You think you have matured and are intelligent or understand Bhagavad Gita. Krishna represents consciousness, awakening, the innocence. And this is the entire message of Krishna to Arjun, to become innocence once again. Attain to this undivided consciousness, the innocence that is your nature. That is the very essence of this, the very insight into this sutra, that attain to this undivided Krishna, undivided consciousness, That is the very quality of the awakened one, and it is innocence, your very nature. Hence my antagonism is towards all knowledge that is borrowed. Do not quote the Bible or Gita. Do not behave like parrots. Do not just go on living on borrowed information. Therefore, start seeking and searching your own intelligence. A negative process is needed. It is to be achieved via negativa. That is the way of Buddha. You have to negate all that has been given to you. You have to say, this is not mine. Hence, I have no claim over it. It may be true, it may not be true, who knows. Others say it is so. Unless it becomes my experience, I cannot agree or disagree. I will not believe or disbelieve. I will not be a Catholic or a communist. I will not be a Hindu or a Muslim. I will simply not follow any ideology. Because whoever you follow, you will be gathering dust around yourself. Therefore, stop all following. Being with me, you are not my followers, remember it. Friends, certainly you are, but not followers in any way. You are in a love affair with me, but it is not a question of following. And my work here is not to teach you something, but to help you to discover yourself. Just drop all knowledge that you have gathered. It hurts because you have carried that knowledge for so long. You have been bragging so much about that knowledge, and suddenly I am saying to you, drop all that nonsense. Just be as simple and innocent as a child. Just be again a child as you were born, as God sent you into the world. In that mirror-like state, you will be able to reflect that which is. Innocence is the door to knowing. Knowledge is the barrier and innocence is the bridge. Knowledge is the barrier and innocence is the bridge. For me, this is the essence or epitome of Bhagavad Gita. Innocence is the epitome of Bhagavad Gita, and not all that your commentators has been conditioning you with. Innocence, to attain to that childlike innocence, your inborn quality, is the very essence of Bhagavad Gita. Nothing else is important. If Bhagavad Gita, your teaching, the message can make you innocent once again, you have understood Bhagavad Gita. And in the end, when Krishna says, Sarva dharmana paritijya mam ekam sharanam vraja, forget about all the religions and everything that you have learned. Religion means what? All that you have learned into the life up to now. Abandon that and come to me. Me means what? The innocence. Return to your innocence. Innocence is the ultimate flowering of your consciousness. Even a child is not innocent. He is simply ignorant. He does not know. But he is not aware that he knows not. The child most probably will become stupid because the society needs stupid people. The religion needs stupid people, and the politicians need stupid people. All vested interests need the masses to remain stupid. Their stupidity is the opportunity for all the vested interests to exploit them. The intelligent one cannot be exploited. It is very rare that somebody rebels against religions, politics, social structure and tries to retain his individual, chooses ignorance rather than to be knowledgeable, because ignorance at least is natural. In being knowledgeable, you have gone away from your nature. The person who rebels against all these vested interests and discovers that he knows nothing, that he knows only one thing, that he knows nothing and he is innocent person. He knows only one thing, that he knows nothing, and this is the quality of the innocence. When Bodhidharma was asked by Emperor Wu of China, who are you? Bodhidharma said, I do not know. If you tell, the people will consider, so what happened? How come that you don't know who you are? It is ignorance. Bodhidharma is one of those few who have come to their innocence. Socrates' last statement is, I know only that I know nothing. This is one of the greatest statements ever made. And Socrates made this statement, I know only that I know nothing. Stupidity is common. It comes in all sizes and shapes. There is Christian stupidity, Hindu stupidity, Mohammedan stupidity, Buddhist stupidity, communist stupidity, and many more. One thing about stupidity, it never looks inwards. It can see outside. For example, a Hindu can see that Jesus cannot be enlightened for the simple reason that he drinks wine and moves with prostitutes. It is impossible for Hindu stupidity to recognize Jesus as intelligent, as to recognize Jesus as enlightened. Christian cannot see Krishna as enlightened. He had 16,000 wives, all forcefully taken from their husbands, from their children, and the man is the perfect incarnation of God. It is difficult for Christians to see how Krishna can be the incarnation of God. He forces Arjun to go to the war, convinces him against his will to go into a war that is known in India as the Great War, which destroyed India forever. It broke India's spine. Since then, India has never been able to recover or reach any heights. It was available to all kind of invaders, easily available to become enslaved. The whole responsibility goes to Krishna. Now a Christian who believes love your enemy and love even your neighbor, I am always wondering why Jesus has not said love your wife too, love your husbands too, because enemy is far away. To love your enemy is easy. To love your neighbor is more difficult, and to love your wife or husband is almost impossible. You can pretend. The Christian teaching seems to be of peace, and Krishna's teaching seems to be of war and violence. No, it is not possible for Christians to accept Krishna. They can see the stupidity of Indians who believe in Krishna. The Christian cannot accept even Gautam Buddha for the simple reason that he never healed the sick people. He never healed the sick people. He never gave eyes to the blind. He never raised the dead back to life. And what kind of savior is he? He never served anybody. The service is the religion to the Christian mind. Just look from the other side. If you ask the Buddhist, do you think Jesus Christ is Savior? He will simply laugh. He will say, saviors are not crucified. Jesus could not save himself. He is a pretender, hypocrite, claiming that he can save the whole humanity, but he could not save himself. And the Hindus, the Jains, the Buddhists, all Indian religions believe that if a certain person is crucified, that means in his past life he must have committed really great crimes, perhaps murders, otherwise crucifixion is not possible. It has to be related to his life. Jain says when Mahavir, their savior, walks on the road, even thorns move away, because Mahavir has not committed any crime in his past life. He cannot suffer even a thorn. Hindus say if Meera is given a poison, the poison turns into nectar because she has not committed any sin in her past life. Therefore, Jesus' crucifixion, which is very significant to Christians, is simply a proof for Hindus, Jains and Buddhists that this man was simply a pretender. Stupidity has this trait. It can see in others, but it cannot look within words. No Christian can see anything wrong in Jesus Christ. No Hindu can see anything wrong in Krishna. No Buddhist can see anything wrong in Gautam Buddha. Suddenly their intelligence disappears. They become immediately retarded. They fall back. This is one of the characteristics of the stupid ones. Stupid people can become very knowledgeable. They can become great scholars, popes, Shankaracharyas, great rabbis, full of knowledge, but no knowing of their own. All knowledge is borrowed. In themselves they are just empty. They are covering this emptiness with borrowed knowledge. It is not their own intelligence that they become sharpened. Instead, it is only their intellectuality that has become too full of information. Remember, a computer has no intelligence, but it has memory. It can have as much information as you feed it, as you feed into it. The stupid person can become a great scholar, a world famous scholar, but he is not. He is just a computer. All knowledge is information based on memory, not his experience. In his experience, he proves to be futile and stupid. Innocence is not knowledgeable. Innocence simply means a clean clarity, insight with no preconceived ideas or knowledge. Innocence means just to be a mirror, which is empty but able to reflect anything that comes before it. Innocence is the greatest achievement. Only a few people have been able to become innocent. It is said when a person becomes so innocent, he is like a child. Remember the word like a child, not a child. There is a certain similarity. The child is ignorant without knowledge. A clean slate, he will soon gather knowledge because he is ignorant and it hurts to be ignorant. Hindus call this a state of innocence as twice born. Such innocence is the epitome of the oft-used sutra of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmana Paritijya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Ma Shucha. This is the epitome of innocence. Innocence that is rediscovered. Krishna helps Arjun to rediscover his innocence through this sutra. The entire message of Bhagavad Gita is to rediscover the innocence that was lost in the woods of words. This is the beginning, a new beginning that is called sannyas or initiation. Socrates makes a beautiful distinction. It is worth remembering. He says there is knowledge which is ignorant and there is ignorance which knows. It looks contradictory. What is he saying? Knowledge which is ignorant and ignorance which knows? He is talking about innocence indeed. Innocence has no claim to knowledgeability, but it is open, available and capable of responding spontaneously. Just like a mirror responds through its reflection spontaneously. It is tremendous freedom and tremendous individuation. Now you can commune with the flowers, with the mountains, with the clouds, and with anything that you see around. You are so innocent that there is not even a possibility of communion with existence. Knowledge is a barrier. Innocence comes to you when you become conscious, more alert, and you start dropping the unnecessary luggage that you have been carrying all about. Have you ever thought how much unnecessary luggage you have been carrying within yourself? Conscious man slowly starts dropping everything because the most precious treasure in you is to be absolutely unburdened, clean, pure and innocent. Innocent man is the only wise one. The knowledgeable man is only stupid. All your universities and colleges and schools create stupid people. The effort of an awakened one is to undo what your universities, colleges, schools, theologies have done to you, to deprogram you. and he does not have any other program to replace theirs. He simply deprograms you and leaves you deprogrammed. Sarva dharman paritijya, abandoning all the religions, come to me, the innocence. Attain to this innocence. This is innocence, and it is tremendous intelligence. It is such a great insight that there is no need of knowledgeability. The essence of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita is innocence. Nanak entered the mosque, prayer began. Nanak stood behind the chief for the prayer. The chief was angry at Nanak, who was just remaining standing. Somehow the prayer finished. How can you pray or fool a Nanak? And when you are full of anger, there is no prayer. The chief was angry with Nanak and complained that he did not fulfill his promise of offering prayers. At this, Nanak reminded the chief of the condition. The condition was, Nanak will definitely offer prayers only if the Nabab, the chief, offered the prayer. At this, the chief responded, are you in senses? Everybody knows that I offered the prayer. People are witness to my claim. Nanak replied, I am not concerned with all your understanding or witness. I am concerned with all that is happening deep within. You were in fact buying horses in Kabul, and your priest or imam was busy cutting the crop in the fields. Now tell me, how can I offer the prayers when you did not? This surprised both the chief and the imam. The most important and the prestigious horse had died, and the chief was filled with agony. He was wondering how to go to Kabul and buy another horse. And as far as the imam is concerned, his crop is ready. There is shortage of labor. This worried him, and he was cutting the crop. How can I offer the prayers when neither you nor your priest offer the prayers? Prayer is a state of awareness. It springs out of your inner serenity. Prayer, meditation, etc. cannot be forced. You can sit down with your room door closed, saying that you are praying or meditating. It is not important what you do. What is more important, what is going on deep within you. You can be statue-like. You can hold and discipline your body easily, but not the mind. That is what happens when people go into meditation. More thoughts arise on the inner sky. Whenever you go to your religious place, your inner disturbance surfaces. When you are engaged in work, there is not much energy left for disturbance. And when you sit in meditation or prayer, your energies are not divided. There is total energy available and disturbance surfaces. Thus, when you are in a theater or a part of the discotheque, you remain peaceful. However, in meditation and prayer, you remain twisting and turning. Why does this happen? Theater, discotheques are all associated with your desires. They are all that is being provoked, which is part of your deep unconsciousness. This resonates with you, hence there is enjoyment, and you are not bored. Whatever happens in the temple does not resonate with you. That is why such things remain boring. The enlightened one says, even by plasticizing, silence you cannot attain. You may continue to meditate, nothing will happen. The hunger of the senses will not vanish even if the mountains of food is provided for. The hunger for God is not an ordinary hunger. Nothing can satisfy it. How can we be truthful? And how can this veil of ignorance and falsehood are removed? The enlightened Nanak says, Hukum is the only way, the cosmic law. This is very significant statement. Let me explain what is Hukum. Literally it means the order or the command. Nothing will happen by your doing. When you are false, then all that evolves will definitely be false. It matters not if you are speaking truth. To Nanak, hukum simply implies the cosmic law, the synergistic harmony. Before I explain this, another anecdote. Once Nanak stayed in a village. The chief of the village had a religious function. Entire village was invited. Nanak was also invited. Nanak did not go. Instead, he stayed at the place of the poor carpenter Lalu. Several times the chief sent a message for Nanak, but he did not go. Ultimately, the chief came himself. At his request, Nanak accompanied him to his place. However, Nanak refused the pure sanctified food. The food was prepared by chefs who took a bath with the holy waters before starting the cooking. At this, Nanak said, "Now that you insist, bring your food," and he asked Lalu to bring his dry flat bread without any vegetables. It is said Nanak took the dry food of Lalu in one hand, and in another hand he took the delicious food of the chief and squeezed. It is said from the Lalu's food the stream of milk came out, whereas from the food of the chief blood came out. This is symbolic. I do not know if it happened this way or not. It is significant for me. If you are dishonest, it does not matter if you bathe or wash the vegetables with pure and holy water. If your life is that of dishonesty, falsehood, exploitation and torture, then every grain of your food is soaked in blood. It is more important if this really happened. It is not important if this really happened or not. However, the anecdote is very significant. It gives an important message. Nanak says nothing happens on your own. When you are dishonest, this will become part of you. You will speak truth only if it benefits your dishonesty. Even your truth will harm others. Nanak says, leave everything to him, let thy will prevail. Whatever condition or state he keeps you, remain pleased. His commandment or way becomes your way. Accept all that is happening. Flow with life. Life is given by God. Only He knows what is good and what is not. Neither your priest knows nor you know. Behind every happening there is a cosmic law, a meaning, a secret. Thy wish is my command. Let this be your guiding principle in life. Only He knows what is good and what is not. Neither your priest knows, he manipulates, nor you know. Be in harmony. Behind everything there is a cosmic law, a meaning, a secret that you cannot decipher. Neither you can decipher, nor the cunningness of your priest can decipher. Thy wish is my command. Then you will find that suddenly an inner harmony, oneness and silence begins to descend. No more worries. You are part of the cosmic harmony. What is the worry? The worry is that you are not in harmony with all that is happening. The only sutra of peace in the East, from Lao Tse to Nanak, is total acceptability. Umar Khayyam says, moving finger writes and having writ moves on. Nanak says, Hukum Rajai Chalana, Nanak Likhyana. Fall within this cosmic law. Flow with it. There is a law, the cosmic law. Everything happens accordingly. Flow with this cosmic law. You can float in the sky that Nanak calls Ek Omkar, Satnam. That truth alone is one and existential. And there is only one methodology, thy wish, thy will. This existential primordial sound creates a cosmic law and therefore guides and creates synergistic harmony both within and without. Once it happened, in Balkh there was a chief called Ibrahim. He had a slave who was very vibrant and loving. Ibrahim loved him and brought him home. Because of his ways, Ibrahim fell in love with the slave. Ibrahim inquired how he wants to remain, what would he like to eat, etc. It is said the reply of the slave was beautiful. The slave replied, "My wish does not matter. Whatever the master wants really matters. I am your slave and you are my master." It is said, with this reply, Ibrahim's life transformed. He bows to this slave. Ibrahim got the secret that he had been searching for long. This is the hukum, the cosmic law, flowing with the cosmic law, or flowing with the cosmic law. This is Nanak's methodology to attain to inner oneness, harmony and bliss. Thus Nanak blocked all doors of ego. First Nanak emphasized the grace of the Master, and now he gave the next one to flow with the cosmic law. Be within this existential law, flow with the ultimate will. He knows what is right. This is the way of surrender, the essence, the surrender to consciousness, not surrender to any individual person. When a master says surrender to me, it does not matter, it does not mean that the master is saying to surrender to me as an individual. Master is consciousness, master is innocence, master is silence. He wants you to surrender to that silence, that innocence, that harmony which is still not part of you. And in surrendering to the one who has attained to this harmony, his silence, his innocence can become a bridge, it can connect to your innocence. Life is a unique combination of struggle and surrender. When struggle dominates, you move towards the world, and when surrender begins, you take roots. When surrender begins to take roots, inward journey begins. Out of this evolves two ways of life. First is the way of struggle. This implies I am separate from the whole, so too my will differs from that of the total. Surrender, on the other hand, implies I am part of totality. Therefore, question does not arise for my will to be separate from the will of the total. When you are separate from the whole, struggle is natural. And when you are part of the whole, surrender becomes natural and spontaneous. With struggle breeds intention, worry, disturbance, agony and chaos. With surrender, peace, harmony, bliss and ultimately an understanding descends. Surrender is the quality of the religious person. By going to a temple, mosque, church or gurdwara, one does not become religious. If you are following your will and your way is the way of struggle, you want to attain all your will through prayer, worship, etc., then you are not religious. This is what happens to all the churchgoers, to all the people who are Sunday churchgoers. When you do not have any desire of your own, you begin to flow with the will of the unknown and unknowable. You are in tune with all that is happening. You move effortlessly. No more swimming. You are simply floating. Life moves in a different dimension. This is the dimension of the unknown, the dimension of the unknowable. This is the dimension of religion. This is the dimension of Krishna. This is the dimension that is the epitome of Bhagavad Gita. Nanak is not religious in the ordinary sense. There is nothing apparent in Nanak that seems religious. He is not religious in your sense of the word. Instead, he is religious because of his tremendous awareness and his understanding of that which is. He is simply flowing in the divine placenta that he calls the cosmic law. What is the nature of surrender? Have you seen birds flying in the sky? For flying, birds need wings. Birds flap the wings and soar high in the sky. And then a state comes when birds do not even flap their wings. It simply lays its wings stretched and then just floats high in the vastness of the sky. So too, when your consciousness attains to such a state of floating, no ripples, no struggles, and you just begin to float in the wind, you are weightless. This is surrender. This is what Krishna means by surrender when he says, Sarva dharmana paritijya mamekam sharanam vraja. Abandoning all the religions of the body and mind, come to me and me alone. This is surrender. This is floating like the birds that lays stretch its wings and floats in the vastness of the sky. You cannot surrender to that which is not tangible, and because of your stupidity, Krishna tells you through Arjun to surrender to him. Remember, surrender is always to consciousness that is the replica of God within. Surrender is not to any person, but because of your so-called cunningness, he has to say that surrender to me. But we take it for granted that Krishna says to surrender to him, not to Jesus Christ, not to anyone else. Individuals will be merged in the infiniteness of divine will. You are light like a feather, egoless, just floating. Remember, weight comes with a struggle. Weight comes because of ego. The more you are ignorant, the more you struggle, and the more struggle continues. And also, ego nourishes ignorance. And ignorance protects ego. Together, ego and ignorance create a veil or barrier. Nanak calls this as Maya or illusion. When this veil dissolves, truth manifests. The more you struggle, the more despondent you are. A struggle strengthens ego and creates misery, and thus veils truth. Weight drowns you, and weightless you flow or reach the infinite height. The moment you drop a struggle, you attain to the abode of godliness. Ego is the stone hanging around your neck, and the more you struggle, the more ego strengthens. Therefore, be weightless, and this is the essence of surrender, weightlessness. It happened once Nanak came to a village of Sufis. He stayed outskirts. The whole village belonged to the Sufi followers. When the Sufi Sheikh got the message that Nanak is staying, he sent a glass of milk brimmed to top. Outskirts, Nanak was staying near a well. Seeing that the attendant brought a glass of milk brimmed, Nanak picked a flower from the nearby bush and placed in the cup of milk. The flower floated on the surface. Thus he returned the cup with the flower floating onto the surface back to the Sufi. A flower is weightless. Flower requires no space in the cup that was brimmed already. This surprised Mardana. He wanted to know the reason for Nanak's action. Nanak explained, the Sufi Sheikh has sent the message that village is full of enlightened masters. Therefore, no one else is needed. This is the meaning that the Sheikh communicated through the glass of milk brimmed to top. And what about your action? Mardana inquired further. Nanak said, I sent him a message back. I am weightless, therefore I will not occupy any space at the physical plane. Like a flower I will float on the surface. Like a bird I will float in the vastness of the sky. Like the fragrance of the flower or its beauty, I will sanctify every being and fill the aura with an infatuating fragrance. Such is the way of the Master. Such is the way of the Master. This is what is the essence of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Not what your priest, not what your preceptors, not what your commentators teach you. They teach you to be Hindu, but they do not teach you to be a human being. The very essence of the enlightened one is to teach you to how to be innocent, and innocent means to be a human being. One who is weightless is indeed a man of awakening. Only such a person is learned. Only an ignorant one can harm the other. When you are weightless, then your life undergoes transformation. Life changes. Such a person can harm no one. Love springs forth. Non-violence too springs. All these are the outcome of weightlessness. Like shadow, compassion, love and understanding flows out of such a person and follows him. Only such a being is capable of transforming all those who come in association. Hatred, jealousy, anger, violence, etc. How can ego dissolve and you attain to weightlessness? Only one way for this. Hindu scriptures call this as Rik, Lao Tse call this as Tao, Buddha calls this as Dham, Mahabir calls it as Dharma, Nanak calls it as Hukum, the cosmic law. These are various names for that which is existential. No name can really explain or encompass the magnanimity of that which is existential. Love all these names, love all these expressions, understand this. Live a life beyond duality and ego. Only then you can understand a Nanak, a Buddha, a Lao Tse. Only then you can really be religious. Only then you can understand and attain to the essence of Bhagavad Gita. One who lives within this cosmic law is indeed religious. One who is in harmony with the existential law, the synergistic harmony, attains to bliss. Indeed, this is the only way. This implies you are now facing God. How can you see the light of the sun if you go on running away from the sun with your back facing the sun? The moment you are facing the sun, ignorance of many lives will vanish and you can really get the glimpse of the magnanimous. The only way to face God is to be in harmony with the existential law. Unnecessarily you are carrying a weight. And what is the weight that you carry? All your failures and successes are the weights that you carry. This is the disease arising out of ego. I have heard once a chariot was moving. A common fly was sitting on the axle of the wheel. As the chariot was moving, dust was filling the atmosphere. The chariot was huge. It was yoked by 12 horses. It was moving with a speed. With all this, the fly considered itself to be magnanimous. The fly is sitting on the axle. The chariot is moving with great speed. Dust is flying. Naturally, ego is bound to inflate. The fly thinks itself to attain greatness. Whatever you attain in life is by His grace. You are no more than the fly sitting on the axle. Never consider that it is you who is raising the dust. Dust fills the atmosphere because the chariot is. Never bring yourself into the picture. I have heard another story of a lizard that lived in the house under the ceiling. One day it happened the friends invited the lizard for a stroll. The lizard pondered and finally refused the offer, saying that it will not be able to accompany. I am concerned who will support the ceiling once I go for a stroll. If I move, the ceiling will fall. The lizard thinks that I am supporting the ceiling, and then I will be responsible for the situation, replied the lizard very wisely. The lizard thinks so. It may be true. From the angle of the lizard, ego is no more than a lizard. I have heard another story of a woman who lived in a village. She owned a cock. Every morning the cock crows and then the sun will rise. This gave the woman the impression that it is the crowing of the cock that sun rises every morning. The woman got arrogant. She convened the entire village and told everyone to respect. She said, if you are not paying respect or taking care of me, I will leave this village and migrate to the neighboring village. Once I move out of this village, the sun will not rise in your village. And then it happened. The villagers got her angry. The old woman migrated to the neighboring village. It was the night when she moved out of the village. The very next morning her cock crew and sun rose in the village, in the east there. This confirmed her belief that sun rises only because of her cock, because when it crows, the sun rises. She was convinced that sun will not rise in the other village. The logic of the woman is straightforward and crystal clear as well. It never happened that the sun would have risen and the cock did not crow. And now that the woman has moved to the neighboring village, the sun rose when the cock crew. Then how can sun rise in the other village? With your intelligence, you think within the narrow boundaries of your limited intelligence. God does not exist because of you. Instead, you exist because of God. You exist and float in this divine placenta. Your breath